Greetings, I'm Rosalind Parks, and thank you for tuning into this edition of National Network View News. In today's broadcast, we are joined by our guest, Sister Sherrie Muhammad, to discuss the move of families from vaccine-mandated public schools to independent education. In the Global View segment, we will discuss the establishment of a Republican form of government in Barbados with contributor and Final Call staff writer Brian E. Muhammad. Finally, contributor Dr. Akili Muhammad joins us for a medical segment covering the roundtable discussion on federal vaccine mandates conducted by U.S. Senator Ron Johnson. As public schools force students to get vaccinated and return to a toxic environment, more and more parents will look to independent schools with good teachers and good curriculum as a viable alternative. Now, recently, school has begun, and enrollment was, I know you got a lot of inquiries about enrollment. Did you see or have you found that parents are becoming more inclined to enroll their children in independent schools, such as yours?
I would say yes. And one of those reasons is because of the pandemic.
Mhm.
Because of the pandemic, a lot of parents are not ready to put their children back in a brick and mortar school. So you have a lot of parents and Black parents who, as they are seeking out an independent education, they want one that is going to cater to their children, to their ideologies, to their way of life. And so, yes, I've had a great influx of parents inquiring about Asiatic minds. And so, and I was actually doing some research as well. And yes, in independent school enrollment is definitely up.
Mhm. Joining us is Sister Sherrie Muhammad, founder and executive director of Asiatic Minds Online School. Greetings, Sister Sherrie.
Greetings. How are you doing, Sister Rosalind?
I am well. How are you?
I'm wonderful by Allah's grace. Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. Sister Sherrie, it's been a while since we've last spoken to you, so we have just a couple of questions to catch up on. Public schools are forcing children to get vaccinated and return to a toxic environment. Do you anticipate that more parents will look into online schools such as Asiatic Minds as a viable alternative?
Absolutely. I do. I think that as parents begin to see that they actually have a choice, that they are going to begin to look around for different alternatives. This before the vaccine, or not the vaccine, but before COVID, I believe that we were just on a hamster wheel. And so we were just so used to the way we send our children to school because that's the way we went to school. That's the way our parents went to school. And but now this COVID has interrupted the whole system, the whole program. And so people are actually looking for different ways to accomplish things. Just as in the workforce, you have so many more people who work from home. And now that things are even begin to open up, there is still a work at home force that is present. And I don't think that's going away. And I believe the same thing is happening with schools, that parents are really beginning to look at, okay, within these schools, I don't necessarily have to keep my child here if I don't agree with everything, if I don't agree that they're safe, if I don't agree with the curriculum. I have a choice. And so online education is not a new thing. However, it is something that is being looked at now as a more viable option for our students, and parents are becoming more comfortable with knowing that their students or that their children can still get a quality education and it be online.
Yes, ma'am. Now, Asiatic Minds filled up quickly. There was a lot of interest in your school uh, toward the beginning of the school year. Have you experienced an increase in student enrollment?
Actually, yes, we have. Just we just finished our first quarter, and we're moving on to our second quarter. And within our second quarter, we did accept several new students. We still have. There's currently a waiting list on the website, And there are people adding names every day to the waiting list for children, and that's for next school year. So parents are actually thinking ahead and are signing their children up for the waiting list in order to get into Asiatic Minds for next school year. So that is definitely a blessing. We're so grateful and so happy that we can offer an online school, something that we all may not have a brick and mortar school in our cities that we would like for our children to attend, that would reemphasize the values and principles that we teach in our homes. So we are just so very blessed, the Asiatic Minds, to be an alternative and a good source for parents to turn to.
Yes, ma'am. And a lot of people thought that online schooling was a great barrier or just an obstacle to utilize. And you mentioned earlier that online schooling is showing and proving that online education is very doable and effective. Can you share with us some of the accomplishments of some of your students so far?
Well, our students, I get feedback from the parents that they are so pleased with being in school with Asiatic Minds, that they have peers and that they actually feel comfortable being in an environment of their peers who believe the way they do, who have the same standards that the parents, in the different households have the same standards. And so the students are so very comfortable in the school, and they are learning quite a bit. I know in science, they're constantly doing projects. In math, with Brother Shahid, they have excellent projects, math projects that they are doing. They love playing the different games to test their knowledge. So the students are having a wonderful time, and we as instructors are having a wonderful time as well with them.
Asiatic Minds online school helping to secure our freedom and independence.
Thing I see how Asiatic Minds is helping with that is actually changing the mindset of our people. Um, because sometimes we as a people, we are still in that box of sending our children to a particular type of school, not really having the confidence that we can do it ourselves, that we have within our community all the tools that we need in order to succeed and to be free. And so I think Asiatic Minds is contributing to that mindset, as we have other independent schools who are helping to contribute to that mindset. And on top of that, the students, they fully recognize that this is their school. And so it allows them to have a mind that grows and to really think about, okay, what can I do to play a role in my nation? Oh, I don't have to go and work for a corporation. I'm attending a school that is independently owned and operated by our own. And so, and then even within the classrooms, we definitely reinforce what our students, what is it that you want to do to contribute to your nation? It's nation time, and we all have a part in growing that. And I truly believe that Asiatic Minds is helping do that by changing mindsets and just expanding the belief in what we can actually do for ourselves.
And Sister Sherry, you always thank the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for his inspiration. How has the minister motivated you to do for self in education and economics?
Well, praise be to Allah for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He has certainly helped me by teaching me a knowledge of self. Were it not for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I would not know the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I would know nothing of being an MGT. I would know nothing of being the second self of God as a female. And just by having that knowledge of self, the knowledge of God, and the knowledge of our enemy, that alone put my mind in a different direction. And of course, we know part of our teachings is to do for self. And so, coupling that foundation of knowing self, that gives you the confidence. And when you really take that to heart and begin to work on it, then you begin to look within for what skills, gifts, and talents that Allah has blessed you with that you can do for self, that you can grow economically, and all of that fitting under the umbrella of helping our nation to grow. Because when we as individuals grow ourselves, then that in turn will help our nation grow. So I thank the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and I can't thank him enough for his sacrifice and hard work that he has done and is doing and it will continue to do, and being an inspiration to myself and every believer who is in the nation to move forward and to really be on that path of becoming God's. So
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I do have a question about this school. One of the things that we've spoken about previously in regard to the online school is the introduction of additional pieces of education, like spiritual and education and motivational education. You have teachers there for that. We've also discussed the chess class. Can you share with us some of the benefits of those classes, those types of classes that help children in ways that maybe traditional math and English and reading, writing, arithmetic don't?
absolutely. I believe those type of classes help our children to be more holistic. So it gives them the opportunity to think in a different way other than just straight language arts or science. But in technically those classes involve those other classes, but it's just expressed in a different way, in a way that they may find very fun, and but yet they're still learning and they're still reinforcing those core classes. And so I think that having those type of classes, and I don't know if I had mentioned before that we're working with BAM, Black Architects in the Making, which is a group of Black architects out of Miami, that they are currently doing a workshop with our students and exposing them to architecture. So they're doing different projects with them. It's a 5-week workshop that they are conducting with Asiatic Minds. And so our students are having the opportunity to just think outside of the box. Like, they see buildings every day, but they don't necessarily think about the architecture and all the different phases that go into creating that building. And so they're being exposed to all of these wonderful things, and the things that, once again, that they're being exposed to just simply reiterates that math, science, language arts, speaking, spelling, writing, all of those things they find in all of the different quote unquote elective classes that they have.
Asiatic Mind speaks to the student as a whole person, and that really sets apart your online school from some of the traditional brick and mortar schools. So thank you, as always, for sharing with us what's been happening with the school.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, Sister Rosalind. And of course, I know we talked about it, but I still want to thank again the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for everything that he has done. I promise you I wouldn't be sitting here were it not for the minister. So thank you so much, dear minister. I love you and I greatly appreciate you. Thank you, NNV News, for such a wonderful platform. And I look forward to speaking with you again, Sister Rosalind.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Let's pause for announcements from our sponsors. When we return, we will discuss the establishment of a Republican form of government in Barbados with weekly contributor and Final Call staff writer Brian E. Muhammad. We'll be right back.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps to combat false media. Cash App NNV News.
AsiaticMinds.com. Online education, helping our children to discover their God-given skills, gifts, talents, and passion that will allow them to see their greatness, as well as the greatness of our people. And upon discovering that greatness, infusing them with the desire to use it for the betterment of themselves, their families, our people, and the world. 2022 through 23 enrollment waiting list open now. Visit AsiaticMinds.com.
Worldwide, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Download the Final Call Radio app and take us everywhere. On your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also log on to finalcall.com and click the Listen Live button or finalcallradio.com. Final Call Radio, the official voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam.
Thank you for tuning in to NNV News. Please share your thoughts with us in the comments section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, National Network View. This is Clifton Muhammad with NNVnews.com.
The Caribbean nation of Barbados has established a Republican form of government and has unyoked itself from its colonial master, the Queen of England, and her British monarchy.
For decades, we have had discourse and debate about the transition of Barbados to a republic. Today, debate and discourse have become action. Today, we set our compass to a new direction, girded by the successes of the last 55 years, buoyed by the confidence garnered from our triumphs and accomplishments, committed to country and to each other, and motivated to press confidently and boldly forward for the sake of our nation and for present and future generations. We stand on and claim our traditions, heritage, and patrimony earned by the sweat of Bajan brows and inherited from our forefathers. As we celebrate all that is good in us as a people and travel onward, we must avoid the trap of merely reliving, retelling, and relying on our past achievements as a nation. Instead, we must seek to refine our definition of self, of state, and the Barbados brand in a more complex, fractured, and turbulent world. For the formation of Republic Barbados, out of the structure of independent Barbados, is ultimately a call to greatness, the greatness which was contemplated by our forefathers and enshrined in the lyrics of our national anthem.
Joining us to discuss this is NNV Global View contributor, Brother Brian E. Muhammad, Final Call News staff writer. Greetings, sir.
Greetings, Sister Rosalind.
Yes, sir. Barbados, the Caribbean nation and former British slave colony, has established a republic form of government. How long has Barbados been lobbying to become a republic?
Well, they've been discussing this since almost its independence in 1966. And so it's been discussed for a while. This government was the first, though, to actually bring it into fruition, although it's been debated back and forth from the 1970s through the 1990s. And of course, now with this breakthrough, this is the first successful, attempt to, to make it happen.
Mm. What will the change mean for the Barbadian people?
Well, I mean, right now, Barbados is suffering economically like many places in the world from the coronavirus pandemic and its effect on the world economy. It remains to be seen how it will affect the people. Right now, um, Barbados being a former slaveocracy, meaning that it was we want to call it a colony of Britain, but the whole country was one big plantation for sugarcane at first and whatnot. Ever since that time, it was a few, one or two white families that literally controlled the economy in Barbados. And this is the same today. And so the real challenge now that they moved to become a republic and has broke away from the Queen of England as their head of state, um, the challenge would be, how do we redistribute the wealth and how will that happen, being that these families or this white old money is entrenched in Barbados?
Questions that I believe many of us are asking is, why did Barbados keep the Queen of England as its head of state for so long, even after it became an independent nation in 1966?
Well, the problem is whenever your former colonial master or your slave master grants you freedom, grants you liberation, they don't grant you liberation and freedom without the necessary strings attached that will still benefit them, even though by name you are your own person. You see, and this is the age-old problem, even here coming out of slavery. It was how do we still maintain control and ownership of these Black people? How do we still maintain control and ownership, even though we gave them quote unquote emancipation, which is no freedom at all, you know? And so they made a decision at independence in 1966 that they were going to maintain this relationship as other former colonial states did with England. And that meant that the Queen remained as head of state, even though you are independent by name. It's a contradiction, but that's how it happened.
Gotcha. Now, who replaces the Queen as head of state in Barbados? Is it the ambassador? Who is that?
No, it would be the Sandra Mason is the new president. Previously, she served as what they called the general. It's a term, but she was actually a surrogate. When England, when they had these lands in far off places, they always kept a person there to look out for the plantation in their interest. It's called a governor general, was the word I was looking for. And she was the governor general of Barbados, which was nothing more than the Queen's surrogate on the plantation.
Now, one of the things that I wanted to ask is, why did Parliament appoint a president without a national vote?
Well, again, the presidency is the head of state position in this system is really more ceremonial. It's not like the president of the United States or, where they hold the governing power, so to speak. It's ceremonial. Even now, they say that the Queen, and people like to say this, well, the Queen, even though she was our head of state, it was ceremonial. She didn't really hold any real powers here. Yeah, but after 400 years of stealing the wealth on the blood and the sweat and the tears of Black people that they enslaved, she was more than just ceremonial in that position. Now, Miss Mason, President Mason right now may be ceremonial because she doesn't come with the backing of the wealth that, that Britain stole from the Caribbean and all of its holdings in Africa and around the world. But it's ceremonial. The real political power in Barbados rests with the prime minister, who is also a very strong, beautiful Black woman by the name of Mia Mottley. This is somebody that we should look up and pay attention to. She's strong, she's uncompromising, and I believe under her kind of strength, Barbados, this will become more than just a symbol move. It will actually be true freedom, justice, and equality indeed.
Now, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has visited Barbados on his 5-nation Caribbean tour in 2012, and he's visited Barbados on a number of other occasions. What has been the minister's message to Barbados and to the Caribbean?
Unite, unite, unite. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has called for and has been a strong voice for a federated Caribbean, meaning all these small nations trying to do business with the wider world. It doesn't make sense. Barbados, for example, Barbados is 166 square miles. Do you know what that is? I live in Columbia, South Carolina. Columbia, South Carolina is just a few miles smaller. I didn't say Barbados is as big as South Carolina. I said it's as small as Columbia, South Carolina. One city, a small city at that. So why are you an independent sovereign with all of the rest of your brothers and sister islands there who are small sovereigns? You can't do this on your own. And it's proof that you cannot do it by yourself, because did you know throughout the Caribbean, Sister Rosalind, they don't grow their own food for the most part? As rich as the land is, they import food from America and from Europe. See, this is what the Honorable Minister Farrakhan is calling for, a federated Caribbean where we can unite and come together and become one fist, as opposed to separated fingers that can't hurt a fly.
Will Barbados remain in the Commonwealth grouping of former British colonies? Why? Or why not?
They will. They will stay there. But again, the Commonwealth is made up of different groupings. You have the Commonwealth of Nations that still hold the Queen as head of state. And then you have a part of the Commonwealth of Nations, a group of them that are republics, like Barbados just became a republic. And then you have others who are part of it that's not beholden to the monarchy in Britain, but other monarchies around the world. So there are countries that still hold it, that you'd be surprised. Canada holds the Queen as that. Others, but they plan to hold on to that for, I believe, probably economic and political reasons, to kind of stay connected into a grouping of nations. But again, until the Caribbean come together, like in what they call CARICOM, which is a grouping of Caribbean nations by themselves, and all of them kick the Queen to the curb and become their own person and come together as one, they will always be in the position that they are economically, each one of them.
Yes, sir. Brother Brian, thank you as always for your insight on our Global View report. We look forward to hearing from you again next week.
Thank you, Sister Rosalind.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Let's pause for announcements from our sponsors. When we return, Dr. Akili will join us for our weekly medical update. We'll be right back.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps us to highlight solutions for a brighter tomorrow. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.
Individually, we are poor when you compare us with white society in America. We are poor. Collectively, we are richer than all the nations in the world with the exception of 9. That's power right there if we know how to prove it. We begin the process of building a greater economic base. And at the same time, we are putting pressure where it really hurts. We don't have to argue with anybody. We just need to go around to these stores and to these massive industries in our country. Say, God sent us by here to say to you that you're not treating His children right. We come by here to ask you to make the first item on your agenda fair treatment where God's children are concerned. Now, if you are not prepared to do that, we do have an agenda that we must follow. And our agenda calls for withdrawing economic support from you. We mean business now, and we are determined to gain our rightful place in God's world.
AsiaticMinds.com. Online education, helping our children to discover their God-given skills, gifts, talents, and passion that will allow them to see their greatness, as well as the greatness of our people. And upon discovering that greatness, infusing them with the desire to use it for the betterment of themselves, their families, our people, and the world. 2022 through 23 enrollment waiting list open now. Visit AsiaticMinds.com.
Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel at National Network View. I am Anissa Muhammad with nnvnews.com.
The Final Call recently released an article titled, "There is no rationale for vaccine mandates. U.S. Senator conducts hearings on injuries, deaths, and deception from government's push of COVID-19 shots." The article covers a roundtable discussion on federal vaccine mandates conducted by U.S. Senator Ron Johnson, which had a panel of highly respected scientists, researchers, medical professionals, and those who were affected adversely by the vaccine in participation.
I'll just say I, for one, believe them. I don't know how anybody can listen to these stories and at least not take them seriously. Yeah, I understand we all want this pandemic to be over. We're all hoping that there was that silver bullet to end it. And so I completely understand now that we have a vaccine and it has been effective and we have 300 million doses and most people receive it and they don't suffer symptoms, why there's such a desire to just overlook, to downplay what's happening to our fellow human beings. That small minority that are suffering severe symptoms. We want to deny that reality. But the first step in solving any problem, and I view this as a problem, is admitting you have one. And I think, unfortunately, because that desire to end this pandemic, I think too many people in the medical establishment and in our federal health agencies are, if not completely ignoring, certainly downplaying what is happening.
Joining us is NNV medical contributor Dr. Akili Muhammad. Greetings, sir.
Greetings, ma'am.
Yes, sir. The hearing included testimony by the family of Maddie DeGaray, a 12-year-old who was injured by the vaccine. With public testimonies, accredited scientists, and public influencers questioning the validity of the COVID-19 vaccines, do you think there eventually will be a caving in of public media at some point?
No, I don't see that happening. My evaluation of the current climate that we're living in is that what that politician spoke of the medical industry, it includes these medical societies that are supposedly interested in improving our health. And the interesting thing about that panel was I watched it, and the thing that was interesting is there were no Black people on it. There were no Native people on it. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying it was interesting because we, the Black people in this country and the Native people in this country, have suffered the most at the hands of this medical society. And so I'm saying all that to say that when you have the medical community tied to the media community, and they are all puppets of the money backing of this country, then I don't really see those systems changing. I see them being destroyed, but it's going to be because the people start to awaken, because there are other media outlets like NNV News and other independent arms that are giving people the truth to allow them to think. That was a heart-wrenching panel, the way some of these people are suffering. But again, I was thinking as I was watching it of the centuries that Black and brown and indigenous people have been suffering at the hands of these same institutions. And, there's been no recourse for any of them. So this is not new because COVID is around. This is not new because of vaccines over the last few decades. This is notorious of these organizations, the CDC, the NIH, the mental health arm. All of these different entities have notoriously been involved in destroying people, covering it up, and then putting in the public some philanthropic idea of how they are helping these people.
It was also mentioned in the article that the vaccine companies aren't releasing raw data on their vaccines until as far into the future as 2025. Do you think that mounting pressure will bring that release time closer?
No, I don't have I don't have any confidence in that either. And based on my research, it's 55 years actually. Pfizer was questioned and they said that they're not going to release it until 2076. And so by the time that year gets here, there'll be so many deaths. There'll be so much that the general population will already know. It'd pretty much be already known that these things have happened. Very similar to the Tuskegee experiment, which is probably one of the more prominent known experimentations that have happened on people. But there are many, many, many studies that we can research that have maimed and destroyed and murdered people. And then 20, 30 years later, these organizations come and admit the wrong or the mistakes that they made or the fact that they weren't really watching things the way they should be. It's too late at that point. But again, when you tie the money that's behind these things, like the money that the Bill and Melinda Gates have given and other entities like that, Dr. Fauci and his organizations and the money that they've given, these people are tied to the media, tied to the government. It's a policy that these people are coming together to present to the public. So when they come out and say things like that, we're not going to give you information for 55 years, it's because they're bent on it, because they don't want to show their true hand until it's too late.
Now, with that said, Dr. Akili, and with the current climate and the climate even as far back as into early 2020, do you have any confidence that if they ever release the raw data, that it will be truthful information?
The things that I've researched over the years, It's not really that the entities will release truthful information. It's that usually there are investigative people that go and find that true information, and they find a way to report it, and then it becomes sometimes mainstream media. But those that are guilty of doing what is currently happening in this country and the world, I don't think they'll ever admit it unless they're on their deathbed. And again, it'll be too late at that point. But these people are wicked to the core, those that know what they're doing and are part of this plan. It's not a conspiracy. It's happening right in front of our eyes. It's only a conspiracy theory to those who are ignorant of what these people have the capability of doing. So again, my history, my research of history tells me that it won't be the same people that are guilty. It'll be others that are showing that they are guilty and go into these companies or to these government entities, and start finding information that proves that something was wrong from the beginning.
And Dr. Akili, very quickly, is there any way to heal from some of the injuries that people are reporting from receiving this vaccine?
I believe that there is. I think the human body has the capability of healing beyond our understanding. We were given healing the moment that we were birthed into this world. And although it may be difficult and although it may take time, I have seen plenty of people prior to this pandemic heal from vaccine injuries. Sometimes it's difficult to make a complete comeback 100%, but making a lot of progress is possible. I believe that it takes, of course, following that book behind me, How to Eat to Live. Number one, you have to get the right foods in you. You have to think correctly. But it's a process of using a thought process that would keep us healthy without a vaccine, without taking medications. And that is eating the right food, making sure that you are drinking water and hydrating, make sure that you're getting enough rest. And then specifically with either the COVID infection or the vaccine, any of them, it's a very serious detoxification program, which takes understanding, which takes work, which takes diligence, takes dedication and sacrifice. But yes, I do believe that. And then again, there are immune boosting supplements and herbs that can be taken to help along with this process. But yes, I think people can improve or maybe even solve the problem, but it would definitely take work.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Akili. And with the Ultimate Wellness Group, what do you have up next for our viewers?
Well, this evening we'll be speaking to a young man who is doing some very wonderful work in North Carolina in lower income communities, as well as he's a part of a good water company coming out of North Carolina. So we're going to interview him tonight and talk about the mental health of young Black men. Probably we'll be doing that for the next 3 weeks, talking to young Black men who are entrepreneurs, who are taking their negative consequences in life and turning it into something positive. Just going to end the year with some good stories about Black men, because you're not very much in the media, or in general are we seeing a lot of good stories about Black men overcoming obstacles and presenting the good side that God has put in them to the public in general.
So thank you, Dr. Akili, for your insight and your contribution tonight. We look forward to hearing from you again next week.
Yes, ma'am. It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for joining us today and tuning into National Network View News. Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, NNV News. This is Rosalind Parks with National Network View News. Good night.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.